Well, thanks in large part to Muhammad Ali, Louisville has become synonymous with boxing. In the 1950s and 60s, people tuned in weekly to watch young fighters on TV, and everyone knew the name of the heavyweight champion of the world. The sport was an opportunity for young athletes to fight for a better life and new opportunities, and they had access to exactly what they needed. It was a golden age. Louisville, a boxing crown jewel in a time when boxers were king and gyms were their castles.
Boxing is a sport where it doesn't take a lot of equipment. As long as you have a gym that you can go to, you have everything that you need. And so for people who don't have a lot of money, this was a great way for them to train and a great sport for them to do.
The Fraser Museum's Casey Hardin says in the 50s and 60s, many Louisville gyms were in community centers operated by the city, but place alone wasn't enough. Hardin says the thriving boxing scene hinged on people.
Kids from the neighborhood could go to their community center and be with this adult who supported them and taught them things and, got into the ring.
Those adults became trainers, and those trainers became legend.
You had this kind of legacy of trainers that were helping cultivate new boxers.
There was Joe Martin at the Columbia Gym, who gave amateur boxers a platform in televised fights. Then the Presbyterian Community Center's Fred Stoner, who Muhammad Ali credited for his decision-making skill in the ring.
He had a special talent for teaching the sweet science.
Hardin chalks the culture up to buy-in from the athletes with blood, sweat, and time, and the city with its wallet.
Louisville really leaned into this idea that they had a lot of these really talented men coming up and winning these national titles.
But for a long time, young boxers of color couldn't compete at the highest levels. While amateur boxing in Kentucky integrated in 1948, Hardin said nationally, the Golden Gloves stayed segregated until a 1959 Supreme Court ruling.
Now it gave the opportunity for all of these boxers, all these really talented individuals, all these really talented men to be able to showcase nationally what they could do.
Louisville's own Cassius Clay won a national Golden Gloves championship the same year, opening the door for his competitors and sparring partners alike.
We had 8 individuals, 8 men between 1959 and 1988 come from Louisville and win national titles for Golden Gloves. We looked into what we had available and we looked into the talent. We really saw people for what they could do.
These were the boxers Aaron Shekels at Louisville's 5-Star Boxing grew up watching and shadowing.
Boxing was kind of a great outlet for me as a kid.
He first got in the ring when he was 8 at the Boys Club downtown, winning Golden Gloves titles of his own.
When I was boxing, there were probably 7, 8 boxing gyms, and boxing was thriving here. Ali was still fighting at the time when I was a kid, so boxing was big in Louisville.
Louisville's prominence in the sport rose so high that in the late 1980s, the Golden Gloves organization had plans for a headquarters here, supported by advocates like Ali and former Mayor Harvey Sloan. Unfortunately, Hardin says, those plans didn't last.
There was a dispute on, what was going to happen. They didn't have enough buy-in, and it just kind of fizzled out.
She points to that period as a turning point and the beginning of the end.
There weren't boxing gyms on every corner. There weren't boxing gyms in these community centers, if the community centers were still around. The resources that they put into community centers, they didn't have that anymore. Funding gets cut, right? And so what's the easiest to cut first?
Shekels watched the ever-present gyms of his childhood disappear. By the time he started coaching, they had dwindled to 2 or 3.
When, you heard Louisville, Kentucky at the national tournament, they were like, that's easy work,
He says it goes to show success starts with support. After all, the 80s also marked the last time a boxer brought a world heavyweight championship back home to Louisville. Louisville is home to 4 world heavyweight champions, more than any other city in the world. So what made this a city of champions? And will it ever see another? Jim Stratman and I asked those questions to the people who lived through boxing's glory days and those fighting to bring it back today. You can see those stories in our special Fighting Chance, Reclaiming Louisville's Heavyweight Heritage. It's streaming tonight at 8 on WHAS 11+.